Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is a special re-edit of our Sip&Talk podcast, and it's brought to you by our wonderful sponsor, Micky. We've distilled the key ideas from our longer chat to get right to the heart of a really fascinating online phenomenon. So have you ever been scrolling online, you see someone mention Taiwan, and then bam, the comments just explode with corrections? It happens all the time. But what if I told you it's not just a simple disagreement? Today, we're going to deconstruct that powerful impulse and try to answer the big question. Why do they think that way? So let's dive right into that core question. We're talking about this powerful, almost reflexive need to correct others online, specifically when anyone refers to Taiwan as a country. You know, this is so much more than just a squabble between two people on the internet. It's really a fundamental collision of different worldviews, different histories, and honestly different ideas of what you even see when you look at a map. To really get to the bottom of this, we're going to peel it back like an onion. We'll start with the correction impulse itself, the behavior we see. Then we'll dig into how that belief system gets built in the first place, what happens when it crashes into the global view, and finally, what it all really means for everyone involved. Okay, so first things first, it all starts with a behavior that anyone who's spent time online has probably seen. It's this persistent, almost compulsive need among many Chinese netizens to jump into any conversation anywhere in the world and correct someone who refers to Taiwan as a country. And it's important to note, this isn't framed as an opinion. It's presented as setting a factual record straight. This powerful urge comes from something we're calling the red stamp. Think of it like a cognitive framework, an idea that's been stamped so deeply and from such a young age that for the people who hold it, it's not just an opinion they have. It's an unshakable, undeniable fact of life, just like gravity. So the big question is, how does a red stamp like this actually get forged? Well, it definitely doesn't happen by accident. It's a very systematic, multi-layered process that often starts in early childhood and gets reinforced at pretty much every turn, through school, through media, and through intense social pressure. This belief system is really built on three main pillars. The first one is education, a single state-approved story that's taught in every single school. Second, you've got the social pressure cooker, right? An atmosphere where being politically correct on this specific issue is basically required. And third, there are systemic rules in place, a system that actively rewards you for conforming and, well, punishes you for stepping out of line. And wow, this contrast in education is just so stark. Just look at how textbooks from mainland China and Taiwan talk about the exact same historical events. In one, a figure like Zhen Chenggong is a national hero who recovered Taiwan for the motherland. In the other, he's seen as an outsider. I mean, these aren't just slightly different interpretations. They are fundamentally different realities being taught to kids from the moment they start learning about history. This social conditioning, it almost becomes like a Pavlovian response. The bell, in this case, is seeing someone call Taiwan a country. The automatic response is to correct them. And the reward for that response? It can be praise from official state media, a huge surge in social media traffic, and validation from your peers. It's this powerful, positive feedback loop that makes the whole correction impulse almost a reflex. So, what happens when this internally consistent, heavily reinforced worldview leaves its home turf? Well, it collides, and often pretty dramatically, with a very, very different global reality. A perfect and kind of wild example of this clash is the UKT incident. So you have a Taiwanese tea maker who wins a super prestigious award and naturally displays their flag to celebrate, which should have been just a simple, happy cultural moment, instantly ignited into a massive political flashpoint. It pulled a totally normal international event right into this deeply rooted debate. And then the response from a bystander, someone who wasn't Taiwanese or Chinese, was just incredibly blunt. They said, no, Taiwan is a country. If you don't like it, you can leave. And that statement right there perfectly captures that clashing perspective. It's a perspective where national identity is seen as a matter of self-determination, not some fact that can be imposed on other people. You know, this conflict actually goes so much deeper than just online arguments. It's really rooted in two vastly different understandings of a core concept that many of us just take for granted: what freedom of speech actually means. So on one hand, you have Taiwan's democratic system. Here, the whole point of the law is to protect the democratic process and individual rights. So sovereignty is treated as a political opinion, something you can and people do debate.
Then, on the other hand, you have a system where the core value is protecting state sovereignty and the party's authority. In this view, sovereignty isn't an opinion at all, it's a political fact. And to dissent isn't just to disagree, it's to break the law. Now, of course, freedom of speech in Taiwan isn't a total free-for-all. But look closely at where the lines are drawn. Speech becomes unprotected if it's being directed by a hostile foreign power, or if it's inciting actual violence. But a simple political opinion, no matter how much it might challenge the status quo, that alone is not a crime. Okay, so given these really deep-seated beliefs and these starkly different legal frameworks, how does the rest of the world react when these correction campaigns spill out onto the global stage? Generally speaking, the international reaction is a mix of confusion, annoyance, and sympathy. There's confusion over why something like a T award has to become a political loyalty test. There's annoyance at what's often perceived as aggressive nationalism. And quite often there's a whole lot of sympathy for the person or company being targeted, which ironically ends up hurting the very national image the correctors are trying so hard to defend. All right, we've looked at the education, the social pressure, the legal systems, everything. So after peeling back all those layers, what's the single most important thing to take away from all this? The whole goal here isn't to justify the correction impulse, but to deconstruct it. It's really about understanding that this behavior doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's the logical output of a system built on a completely different set of educational, social, and legal inputs than what most of the rest of the world experiences. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Understanding the origin of a belief doesn't mean you have to accept it. Not at all. But if we don't first make an effort to understand why someone thinks the way they do, are we all just shouting past each other? Can any real, meaningful dialogue ever truly begin? And that wraps up our re-edit. We really hope this deconstruction gave you some new perspective on the different forces at play here. To hear the full, unedited conversation, make sure you subscribe to the Sip&Talk podcast. This explainer was made possible with support from Micky, and you can find a link to Micky's channel full of fun memes and travel vlogs right in the description. Thanks so much for watching.